So the government has reopened, but how soon will things, well, begin to feel normal again? That is the question we've been working to answer throughout the day.
We've got our political reporter, Will Courtney, telling us what he's learned after speaking to state leaders on when Alaskans can expect some normalcy. Will.
Alaska Department of Health leaders are telling me about an hour ago that the headline is SNAP payments are expected to go out tonight. You'll remember the state has 66,000 people who use SNAP. The payment news comes with important context. While the governor issued a disaster declaration last Friday saying state funding would be delivered to fill the full gap, the Department of Health now tells me system issues meant that never happened. When I spoke with the Food Bank of Alaska's CEO earlier today, she told me demand remains unexpectedly high right now, despite families typically having more resources from October's permanent fund payouts. And she expects the increased need to continue as people wait for delayed paychecks and back pay to be processed. Now, moving on to another topic we're watching, air travel in Alaska. Spokesperson for Anchorage's Ted Stevens International, one of the 40 airports which had their flights reduced, said the impact there has been minimal and they do not expect notable impacts on their operation in the meantime. But we spoke to travelers today. This is a little bit of what they told me.
I'm flying to Seattle tonight. I was scheduled for 1 a.m. just because I was worried about flight delays, and then they got me on an earlier flight now, so that was good.
Seattle was one of the airports that was potentially, and Anchorage, we're going to have issues, but didn't hear anything. Everything seemed pretty smooth, so I didn't really notice it.
Some of them are on life support, and, as I always counsel a lot of them, make sure you have other funds that you raise instead of just relying on government money. No funding is guaranteed.
And he was talking a little bit about working with federal workers. That's part of his job. Now, these are just a few of the impacts we've been following over the last several days. But for a full list of some of those key impacts we've been watching, make sure you visit our website or our mobile app. Will Courtney, Alaska's news source.
All right. Thank you, Will. And from Anchorage's Food Bank to the interior tonight, Fairbanks Community Food Bank staff say that its decades of planning helped it maneuver through a tough situation.
The organization is now focused on ensuring no local families go hungry this holiday season. As demand is expected to settle down a bit soon, they are preparing for major holiday food drives to serve thousands of people.
Oftentimes we'll hear people say things like, I'm sure they need it more. That very well might be the case, but wonderfully, this community has planned to help folks who are struggling. And so if you're not sure how to feed yourself or your family for the holidays, please hop in line.
Drives are planned for the weekend before Thanksgiving at Fred Meyer, Costco, and Safeway. Thanksgiving boxes will be distributed on the Wednesday before the holiday, and there is no sign-up required. We have a quick update on next year's increasingly crowded governor's race to succeed Governor Mike Dunleavy, who is term limited. Today, Palmer State Senator Shelley Hughes said that she will resign tomorrow to focus on her gubernatorial campaign.
14 candidates have now announced they plan to succeed the governor. But with Hughes' departure, only one candidate is actively serving in the legislature. That's Senator Matt Clayman, an Anchorage Democrat. For the latest on the race for governor, visit our website or mobile app. And we did see a little light snow this morning in Anchorage as even colder than normal temperatures continue. But how is that pattern going to change heading toward the end of the week?
Ooh, here we are. Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry joins us with the first alert forecast. Melissa.
Yeah, that snow this morning, it was kind of pretty, kind of like being in a snow globe. Those big fluffy flakes coming down didn't accumulate too much, and we're not going to see any more for the next several days. But those temperatures, they are still chilly heading outside right now. 21 degrees in Anchorage, back to 1 below in Fairbanks. One spot that we are seeing some snow is Haines. You can see it coming down there right at that freezing mark and down into those mid-teens as you head into the valley tonight. Now, while we are seeing relatively calm conditions from south central all the way to the slope, pushing into the Bering Sea, we do have an area of low pressure that is bringing high winds and a rain-snow mix to the Aleutians. That is headed into Bristol Bay for more of the same tomorrow. And then we actually have a series of storms coming in behind that already prompting special weather statements. The National Weather Service letting us know again about this series of storms that may lead to eventual warnings, watches, and advisories once we get into this weekend. But start preparing now for strong southeast winds and snow again from the Alaska Peninsula into the YK Delta region this weekend into early next week. As for south central, mid-teens overnight with partly cloudy skies. We'll see some nice sun breaks heading into Friday with high temperatures back into the mid-20s, which is still below average for this time of year. But we are going to see warming conditions, especially as we get into next week. Still holding on to that sunshine in Fairbanks, although single digits for high temperatures. Rain returning to southeast. Bethel holding on to that sunshine for one more day with high temperatures there in the mid-teens. And I'll have a closer look at that next series of storms coming in with your more detailed statewide forecast here in a few minutes.
All right, check back in a little bit. Thank you, Melissa. And talking winter, all right, it's setting in. Some people may want to get out on the ice, do things like skate, but conditions not that safe yet. You may remember this video we showed you earlier this week, 2 people falling through the ice at Knik Lake.
Those folks who fell through are fine, but we would like to help prevent things like this from happening to you if we can.
That's right. Joining us live at Westchester Lagoon in Anchorage, meteorologist Bailey Braun taking a look at ice thickness this season and how you at home can stay safe. Bailey.
Thank you, John. Yeah, right now we're at Westchester Lagoon. Now, this is a hot spot for ice skating, and we actually did see some ice skaters out here earlier. I was a little worried because I wasn't sure if it met the minimum threshold for what a person can stand on for ice, but I did bring my yardstick, and we measured out about 4.5 inches, and that is the minimum that a person can stand on for either skating or fishing, and so that's good news. So Westchester Lagoon seems to be a good spot for ice skating. Now, that doesn't mean that every place is going to be, but right now, I mean, just because the minimum threshold is 4 inches, that doesn't mean that you can quite operate any machinery on ice just yet. You need about 5 to 7 inches for a snow machine or an ATV. You need about 9 to 12 inches for a small car, and then anything over 12 inches or a foot for an SUV or even a truck. So even if you're not recreating, you know, sometimes you may find yourself in a dangerous situation. So especially, like I had mentioned, if you're not ice skating or even fishing, you may find yourself in that dangerous situation where you might be in ice. And earlier today, I did speak to Austin McDaniel, where he was telling me about the dangers of ice skating and just those times that you may find yourself in a dangerous situation with either that rotten ice where it begins to thaw out and refreeze, or just whenever you're out in the ice and it may break. So we'll jump over to that.
Especially right now in the shoulder season, make sure you're keeping an eye on kids and pets. Especially if you're going to be near frozen bodies of water. Dogs are, a common culprit of running out onto very thin ice that can be very, very weak near the shoreline, and then can be really challenging for, full-size adults to go and attempt to rescue that dog from the ice.
And as Austin had mentioned, you need to make sure that you're looking after your pets and your children. But one popular thing that children do love is that ice skating. And you can check in with your local parks departments and their websites for any ice maintenance updates. And for here in Anchorage, we haven't quite gotten there yet where the ice maintenance has started for the season, but it is coming up. So be sure to check on your updates. Bailey Braun, Alaska's news source.
All right, Bailey, thank you so much. Organizations and people in Glen Allen are coming together to help everyone who's been affected by the Caribou Hotel fire. Look at these images that we've been showing you, illustrating the devastation there, John.
Yeah, incredible. One pic shows the hotel's moose statue. We should, make sure you know it's a statue on fire out front the hotel. Today, we did talk to the commander of American Legion Post 27, Terry Kaiser. He says that they're helping anyone who needs help as long as possible as the owners of the hotel figure out what's next.
We had opened up the Legion for people to go to that needed a place that was warm out of the cold and provide some amenities. And today I'm here to do the same thing, to provide assistance for those that still have needs to be met.
Kaiser says that the owners of the hotel have been holding meetings at the Caribou restaurant, the part of it that did not burn.
And he does recommend impacted people reach out to the American Legion. Local churches and food banks are helping out as well, and state troopers for possible assistance.
So our investigative team has just learned Alaska's entire congressional delegation now urging the Trump administration to stop deportations of Alaska's Ukrainian workers. On Monday, we showed you how some Chena Hot Springs employees, part of the nearly 1,000 Ukrainians who fled the Russian invasion, and now their temporary work authorizations are expiring. They face deportation. And Augusta, you've been following this story. Can you tell us more about the situation right now for these Ukrainian families, what they're facing?
Yeah, John, exactly. Many of the Ukrainians who fled the war don't have a home to return to now, and they say they want to be able to stay and keep working in the United States. There are 936 folks on temporary work visas right now in Alaska, and they're here because American employers like the Chena Hot Springs employer guaranteed their employment and safekeeping to keep the federal government to the federal government so they wouldn't end up in states like Alaska with no options.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now their work authorization status, it is expiring. Do they have options?
They do. They are able to apply for re-parole. So organizations like the New Chance Resettlement Agency in Anchorage are helping this group apply for extensions and re-parole authorizations as soon as they can, which is about 6 months in advance of their deportation deadline. But still, at least 50 Ukrainians had to self-deport over the summer as their status expired before their re-parole was approved. And so now we're learning today Alaska's congressional delegation is asking Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to extend and continue temporary protected status for Ukrainians for as long as the war lasts. That initial 2-year work status, obviously not long enough to fit the situation between Russia and Ukraine. In a letter to Noem, Alaska's congressional delegation detailed that they have asked to have all Ukrainians in Alaska have their various parole applications expedited, so no more are forced to self-deport. I've got a report airing on the Late Edition tonight, and we're going to hear from management at Chena Hot Springs, who say the Ukrainians who work there, representing about a fifth of their staff, are critical to their operations.
All right, Augusta, thank you very much, and very much looking forward to tonight on the Late Edition. Her story live right now on the website and mobile app. And again, as we said, full story. Get it all on the Late Edition.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.